Thank you very much, Anna. Do you hear me clearly?
Very clear, yes.
And do you see my screen at this point? That's the big question.
Yes.
Right, okay, fantastic.
Yeah, we can see it.
All right. So, good afternoon, everybody. For those of you that are in Europe, good morning. My name is Halldor Berg, alongside with Anna and Vanessa, who were speaking earlier. Work for EURAXESS in China. We have a office in Beijing. And the idea was to start today's webinar by giving you guys a little bit of an overview of sort of the innovation funding landscape that European Union has to offer. So we don't want to pretend that we are an expert on all of these different tools and mechanisms that we're going to go into today. So instead, let's imagine that it's more of giving you a taste of what there is. There is certainly a lot. And you can rest assured that there are definitely a tool or a program available that fits your needs. It's for different fields, for different sort of stages of innovation, etc. Thankfully, though, we do have with us today very, very good speakers who know a lot better about some of these part of these tools that we're going to be introducing. So we will be able to maybe go a little bit deeper on some of these things. That being said, I would like to start by introducing EURAXESS a little bit. I think maybe some of you, maybe most of you might know EURAXESS already. In case that you don't, I would like to maybe very briefly go through that and then take a look at these funding programs. I would also like to point out towards this QR code that is on the screen. This is for people that would like to join our WeChat group. This WeChat group is only for people that have joined the event here today. We have really good experience with people using our WeChat groups after the event to kind of continue the conversation, keep asking the questions and so on. We normally, for at least 3 or 4 days after the event, we kind of keep on going, because in my experience, when you're attending these sort of webinars, the best questions sometimes come a lot later when you start thinking about the things that you were just looking at. So I really encourage everybody here to scan the QR code and join the group. There should be a lot of space left already. We just opened the group, and yeah, so if I give you enough time, you should have already scanned the QR code. If you missed it and you're not able to scan it before I change the slides, don't worry, we'll make sure to show the QR code again later in the webinar. But just to start a little bit with the background, EURAXESS is an initiative of the European Commission, and we are sort of, let's say, we could call ourselves sort of like a gateway for researchers, individual researchers like most of you, to the European research area. And when I say the European research area, what I mean is all these different countries that belong to the European Union, and also associated countries of the European Union, that each and every one have their own research system, but also through the European Union and other collaboration make one joint research area. And the European research area as a whole is probably the top, if not at least amongst the top sort of research destination for researchers all over the world. I know that researchers in China are very familiar with the excellence of the European science, but we are also very proud of, how many different, like how diverse our science community is, how creative, how many different things come about. Today we're maybe going to focus a little bit on the creativity of it, on the innovation, as we say. Many of you that know EURAXESS, you're probably familiar with us from introducing some of the other research collaboration funding that is available from the European Union. That includes, for example, mobility funding that goes to individual researchers like Mary Ritter actions and so on. We're going to do a little bit different today, and we're going to talk about programs that have to do with maybe the step after research, which is like bringing research to market, changing it into like a real world applications, innovation, entrepreneurship, etc. So when we talk about EURAXESS, there are basically three main parts of the EURAXESS that I would like to point your attention to. We have the EURAXESS portal, we have EURAXESS centers, and then there's also EURAXESS worldwide. And the EURAXESS portal is basically, you can find it at euraxess.org. This is basically the biggest job portal for researchers in the world. It has like tens of thousands of job opportunities. We also have funding opportunities there, and we also have these national portals. So if you go into different European countries, you can get different information about how to enter the academia there, how to get funding, and other practical advices, etc. In addition to our internet portal, we also have the EURAXESS centers. There are more than 600 centers around Europe now. Every European country has several of those centers. And in those centers, there are real people that are there to help with researchers' mobility. What does that mean? Well, if you are a researcher that is coming from China to Europe, for example, we all know that it can be quite difficult to be going back and forth around the world, moving around in this way, especially when you go into a country that you might not be so familiar with. These centers are there to help you out with that. And then in addition to this, we have the EURAXESS Worldwide. That is the part that we belong to. EURAXESS Worldwide has offices all over the world where there's research outside of Europe. For example, North America and in South America, where we have EURAXESS offices in India and South Korea, Japan, etc. More places, and not the least in China. So we have an office in China already for 10 years. And our Beijing office has been helping people to find information how to go between China and Europe for that whole time. We help people to find funding and find partners. And then we do all kinds of different activities where we help researchers to network, share information and share experience. And we disseminate information and other things like this. In essence, EURAXESS China is a network of researchers. We have more than 4,000 researchers in our networks already. Mostly Chinese researchers that are interested in Europe, and also European researchers that are either in China or have some kind of connection with China. So in there, we're using that community. We are very happy and able to connect people. We have our website. We can see it always here in the corner on the right side. It's china.euraxess.org. We also do all kinds of different newsletters, publications, and then we also have these events, and we have like conferences every year. We have like researchers' nights where people are, take a little bit more informal way to communicate and so on. And then we have we also have this kind of like workshops and other things like this. Obviously in 2020 it's not been a lot of events going on, but we're trying our best. We're doing all these webinars. I know many of you have come to a lot of them, and we are also actually next week, I don't know if you noticed it in our flash note that we sent through our email, we're doing a virtual reality researchers night. This is the first time that we're trying to utilize virtual reality. It's very exciting. It is more of a beta test. Let's see, we'll see how it goes, but we're really looking forward to that. So if you want to develop your networks of contacts and keep track of the latest developments in Sino-European research, if you're just interested in funding opportunities, we can be here to help you, and it's totally for free. It's for every different research career states and any different research field. You can also find us on WeChat. If you scan this is our official WeChat account. But that out of the way, let's take a quick tour of what the European has to offer when it comes to funding opportunities for innovators. So the way that we're going to be doing this is that we're going to be going through one of these opportunities one at a time, but we're not going to go really deep at any of them. If you have any further questions about any of them, feel free to put them in the chat box, and we can definitely either answer it in front of everybody, or we can find more information later for you personally and kind of go into it. One of the things that we can definitely help you with is that if you're interested in any of these programs, we can put you in contact with the people that that know more than us, that are expert there and can help you to go on. So the first thing that we're going to look at today is the Eurostars, which is basically an innovation funding program for from Horizon 2020, from the European Union, that is there to help research performing SMEs to do innovative ideas. So it's for small companies, and you need to be doing some active research work, and sometimes you can be doing it with universities and research centers. One thing to note is that normally it's not for like one company to do it. It is more, you need to have at least 2 partners from 2 different European countries. A lot of times with the European Union funding programs, this is the case. You need to make sure that you're combining different European countries to be able to activate the European Union funding. And does the company need to be European? I mean, like, at least the two companies need to be European, but there could be more companies involved in sort of the group of companies that are applying for this research funding together. The funding deadline is 3rd of September. It's coming up. Of course, also another option is that if you have a research idea and you're based in China, you could always establish a company in Europe, get European partners, and try to go for this kind of funding. This is relatively well funded. Combined, the funding is in the billions, and there's already been like a lot of companies funded. On average, there's around 700,000 euros that are going to each project. Then the next project I want to look at is the IMI, the Innovative Medicine Initiative, and I guess this is also very relevant these days, because the IMI is has been very active in providing emergency funding for innovative companies that are trying to tackle the coronavirus. It is the world's biggest public-private partnership in life sciences. It is funded by the European Union, and how it works is it is like a consortium of companies and research institutions, and they apply together. And basically, it is, if you're familiar from our previous workshops, it's very similar to sort of the Horizon 2020 funding. You need to have at least 3 partners from 3 different European countries. Normally, it's a lot more, and the funding can be really, really high. There's like millions and millions in euros for each of those calls. They're very top down. They start by putting out a call on a certain topic, and then consortiums of research institutions and SMEs and companies apply together for this funding. Then the next one I wanted to talk about is the European Innovation Council, which is in a beta phase these days, but it is funded by the Horizon 2020, and it is probably going to be something that is going to be very active in Horizon Europe as well, so I thought it would be worth it to take a look. Within the European Innovation Council, we have several different initiatives that are that could be of interest here. So, like, the first one I would like to point out is the EIC Pathfinder. It is like, it offers like 4 million euros to promote collaborative and interdisciplinary research and innovation, normally on like science-inspired and radical new future technologies. And these are for like with Horizon 2020 funding in general, this is for like 3 companies from 3 different countries, at least. Then I want to point out the European Innovation Council Accelerator pilot. So this is a pilot. You can see the cutoff was 20th of March 2020 for this year. Doesn't matter. There's still going to be more of those in the future, almost definitely. So you should familiarize yourself with these. This is basically built on the SME instrument phase 2, and it provides a grant-only support and also some other fund sort of blended finance for innovative companies that are coming about. And then we have the Fast Track, which is also part of the EIC, and this scheme is for relatively mature groundbreaking technologies and concepts, and they must come from consortia of at least 3 to 5 legal entities, and there could, like, the grants are up to 3 million euros. So yeah, the fast track had about 300 million euros between 2018 and 2020, and there's probably going to be another phase with the Horizon Europe, although we have to see how that goes next year. And the last one from the EIC is the EIC Horizon Prices. So the Horizon Prices are awarded to whoever can like effectively meet a defined challenge. So the European Commission puts out these challenges, and whoever can meet it will get 5 or 10 million euros as a prize money. So it's a little bit of a different kind of way to approach innovation. So between 2018 and 20, we had like 6 of these challenges already. There was affordable high tech for humanitarian aid that was a 5 million euros. Fuel from the sun, artificial photosynthesis, 5 million euros. Innovative batteries for e-vehicles, which got 10 million euros. Early warnings for epidemic, which is also connected to the coronavirus. This was 5 million euros. Blockchains for social good, 5 million euros. And low-cost space launch, which was 10 million euros. If you look at this, you can see that these are always different topics. So you have to see when they come out, what are the topics going to be. So they're not necessarily going to be the same topics in the future, but if there's a topic that is published, a call that is published for something that you are working on, you should definitely look into this. Moving away from the European Innovation Council, let's take a look at something a little bit different. If you're working in the environment or nature or some kind of climate actions, you could look at the LIFE program. This is of course for there are of course a lot of other projects that are also doing this. I know that our presenter later is actually working for the climate kick of the European Institute of Technology, who are also doing really good projects with this. But I just wanted to give you a taste of what is there. This one here comes from the executive agencies of SMEs, which is a European Union sort of program. And it is like a funding instrument for environment and climate actions. You can get up to 55% funding, and they also give all kinds of different supports for business plan development, etc. So we're getting very close to the end here. You might have heard that a lot of the projects that we've been talking about today actually belong to something that is called Horizon 2020. Horizon 2020 actually have a lot of calls, and every 2 or 3 years there's a new work program where you can see new calls for the next few years, and in there's going to be big topics with a lot of money involved, and some of them are going to be also focused on innovation. Just to give you a little bit of example how this could work, in 2018 to 2020 there was a project called Innovate, who basically allowed companies to apply for funding to be able to do what we call a viability assessment projects. So like how they can actually enter markets outside of Europe, and they could get more than 120 companies got funding to be able to do this, including how to enter, for example, the Chinese market. And one of the things that this project did was that they required you to have a partner in the market that you're going into. So these people, they need to pair up with somebody. If they were thinking about Chinese market, they needed a Chinese partner. So this is an interesting example of what there could be. This project is over right now, but surely there are going to be more of these innovation funded projects in the future. The last project that I'm going to put the spotlight on right now is the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. This is surely one of the biggest sort of framework for innovation in Europe. This is the last, but definitely not the least. It is an official body of the European Union, the EIT, and it's a really big project that is split up into a lot of different fields, like the EIT Climate Kick and EIT Digital, EIT Food. You can see it here on the slide, and each of them have their own different funding mechanisms and projects and prices and other things like this. Very thankfully, we have a presenter here today, Dr. Mary Ritter, who is coming from the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, to share a little bit more about what they are up to and how you can utilize their tools to take the step between research and innovation.